Our next guest is a giant in the space with a finger on the pulse of everything from industrial development, e-commerce, interstate freight. But the company's been dealing with increasing costs and lower freights on the heels of a major derailment in Ohio, a story, of course, we covered closely this past winter. Joining us here at Post 9 in a CNBC exclusive is Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw. It's good to have you here.
A pleasure
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Last time we saw you, you were in East Palestine, Ohio, and there's still headlines on this every day. We know Congress is looking into it. There's an NTSB investigation. How much of your time is being spent on this still?
Well, I'm absolutely focused on our recovery efforts in East Palestine. I'm also really focused on our long-term strategy for value creation at Norfolk Southern that we laid out last December, which was really a balance between service, productivity, and growth, and leveraging the unique strengths of our franchise and the secular macro trends that are really driving growth into our region.
I want to talk about that. But just first on the crash, since there's so much attention on it still, it did come to light, according to this NTSB early investigation, that an engineer had warned about the size of the train to the yardmaster before, and that concern was dismissed. So could you just respond to some of this new information that's coming to light?
Yes, certainly, the NTSB field hearing is a fact-finding forum, and it's an important part of the process. We've been cooperating with the NTSB throughout. We have folks at the field hearing right now, and we're going to learn, and we're going to get better out of this, and we're not waiting to act. You've seen me on the Hill engage with policymakers on bipartisan legislation to improve rail safety. And we've also hired an independent consultant, a former admiral in the Navy nuclear program, to help us enhance safety at Norfolk Southern. The Navy nuclear program is the gold standard of safety, and Norfolk Southern will be the gold standard of safety in the rail industry.
Do you think the episode alters the equation between safety and speed, safety and efficiency, productivity?
Actually, the way we look at safety is it rolls up under operational excellence. And that's what we're driving at Norfolk Southern. The discipline to run a safe and reliable and efficient railroad all flows together. And that's part of our focus in the long term.
Right. But every quarter we look at metrics like average speed, right? Things like that. Does that slow down as a result of all this?
Actually, I think what we're going to see is improvements in safety as we enhance our improvements in safety and in speed as we enhance our operational discipline. And right now, you see our service metrics improving. That helps our cost structure. That also gives us more capacity for volume growth. And so as you look at our weekly figures, you see network fluidity improving, and you see volumes recover as well.
So the current legislation on the table, do you support it? Is it going to make rail safety safer?
I think there are many, many provisions in the Railway Safety Bill that make a lot of sense. And I've talked to my colleagues in the industry about being for enhancing safety. And I want to make it really clear, a lot of these things are things that we've been advocating for a number of years, such as railcar safety standards. And I do not believe it's going to have an onerous impact on our financials or the cost structure for our customers either.
Okay, so tell us what's happening with the business. We look at railroads like yours to get a feel for the macro economy. Do you think we're heading into recession?
As you and I have talked about, we have a unique seat and a unique view into the U.S. economy with over 5,000 customers. Let's talk about the consumer. Certainly the consumer's pressured, but frankly, the consumer may be a little bit more resilient than we thought. You saw that in the housing starts number, and you saw that in the retail sales numbers. The inventory destocking that's going on may have hit an end, and as I talk to our ocean carriers, they see an opportunity for growth and volume later this year. As I talk to the CEOs of our consumer-facing markets, they're continuing to invest in long-term growth because it's only a matter of when the U.S. consumer recovers. And at the same time, in our manufacturing markets, because of the various federal acts, there's an intense amount of non-residential construction that's going on. I'll just take a look at this year. Through the first 4 months of this year, new factory construction in the United States is tracking at about $190 billion, which is 3 times the annual average in the 2010s. And so we've got a lot of optimism for the long term.
Yeah, we talked this morning about factory manufacturing, infrastructure. I assume that's all beginning to bleed into the economy in your view. Are we in the early innings of that, at least from a rail delivery standpoint?
Yeah, I think we absolutely are. And in fact, one of my customers referred to this as a super cycle for non-residential construction. I talked to a customer who is a European automaker, and he made it really clear that because of some of these various acts and the opportunities that exist in the United States, because of low energy costs, energy reliability, logistics infrastructure that's already in place, a pro-business environment, that if you want to participate in the U.S. Electric vehicle market, they know they need to invest in production in the United States. And so that's something that's new, and that gives us a lot of encouragement for our strategy going forward.
I was just going to ask, where is the biggest source of volume growth going to come from for you? Is it in EVs?
Well, I think in the manufacturing sector, it certainly is in the EV market. You see a lot of development there. Heck, Ford just got a $9.2 billion loan yesterday. And this morning, the CHIPS Act was expanded to include production into the semiconductor network. We're also going to see growth in the consumer markets. Look, we serve over 60% of the consumption in the United States and over 50% of the manufacturing, including over 50% of the manufacturing of U.S. light vehicles. And we've got the strongest, most powerful intermodal franchise in the East. And so we've got a strategy that aligns with our unique franchise strengths. And we've got a franchise that faces the fastest growing segments of the U.S. economy.
Does the port strike impact you?
What we've seen over time is a secular shift from West Coast ports to East Coast ports. Sara, like 10, 15 years ago, about 75% of our international volumes touched the West Coast ports. Now 75% touch the East Coast ports.
Why?
Well, because I think the East Coast ports have done a fantastic job of infrastructure improvements, and certainly we've participated in that with our infrastructure improvements in our intermodal franchise. They've done a good job with labor negotiations. And collectively, we've done a really good job of partnering in each other's mutual success.
So not as big of an impact. So the big threat is what? Trucks? You're losing share to trucks and air?
Yeah, there clearly is a weak truck market right now. It's pretty soft. However, there are also some indications that that's starting to strengthen because spot truck rates are starting to move up. Rail is always going to have a cost advantage versus truck. We're going to have a capacity advantage versus truck, and a sustainability advantage versus truck, which is why we're really focused on closing that service gap relative to truck.
Alan, thanks for stopping by. Good to get an update on the business. Really
Pleasure to be
appreciate
with
it.
you.
Alan Shaw, the CEO of Norfolk Southern.